All right. Well, great. I want to welcome everyone to On Your Terms Live. And I want to talk about today's conversation. This is for anyone who has ever looked successful on paper while quietly struggling underneath it. My guest today is Jason Komosa. And Jason has spent more than 2 decades inside high growth startup culture, scaling companies like Vitamin Water and Groupon, helping generate hundreds of millions in revenue and operating in rooms many people spend their entire careers trying to reach. But underneath the momentum, something else was happening. Chronic pressure, stress that became normalized, identity tied to performance, self-worth connected to achievement, and eventually a deeper question. If success finally arrives, why doesn't it feel the way I thought it would? So, today we're talking about the hidden emotional architecture behind high performance, the pressure ambitious people quietly carry, and the scoreboards we unknowingly build our identities around, and what it looks like to begin unlearning the rules we never consciously agreed to.
Mm.
Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And that was just so much goodness that already popped up in my head. This is going to be an awesome chat. So again, thank you for having me.
Yeah, great. Well, we've got like 30, 40 minutes, then we'll just dive in. And I wanted to talk a little bit about you and just how this has played for you. So, for people unfamiliar with your story, give us a sense of the world you lived in for the past 20 years and like what initially drew you into the environment that you're in.
Yeah. So for the past 20, I'm 41 years old. So for the past 20 years, I found myself really um, wanting to. I have a psychology background, but I wanted to get into business. And so ultimately, I helped grow the small startup that was Groupon. And through that immersion of this crazy, wild technology industry that I'd never been a part of or knew much about, I found myself rising the ranks in this individual contributor sales role. And ultimately, we IPO'd, and like I was just burnt out, and it was just prioritizing the wrong things, is what I would say early on.
Mhm.
And so from that, I left Groupon at age 30, and I actually worked with a Harvard trained coach, and ultimately through our work together, we kind of like really figured out, like, what is my mission here on this earth, and how can I leave this planet better than I entered it.
Mhm.
So I spend my days now working with typically with men, helping them self-actualize, so close the gap between where they are right now and where they want to become, through a unique blend of neurology, philosophy, and psychology.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a journey to get to all of these places, right? It's a journey for it's been a journey for you, it's been a journey for me. Life is simply that journey, but sometimes we get so caught up in where we are and what we want it to be, and yet we keep hustling and bustling, and that's what we're going to get around to talk about.
Hmm.
So, right? So, when we talk about the success, and think about the success back then, and then we're going to talk about where it goes from.
Hmm.
But how did achievement feel to you? Was
It
energizing,
was
validating, necessary?
it was almost like, well, first of all, I like to define success, which I believe in today's society, success, most of the time, the majority of the time, the word success usually means money. I
Mhm,
think it's just a nice way for people to say money,
mhm,
because I believe success is subjective to the individual, right? I know and work with men and women who have hundreds of millions of dollars, and I would not define them as necessarily successful, because they're just unhappy. They're always burnt out and work, right? And the opposite end, you have folks who are not making a ton of money, and I think they would classify themselves as wildly successful, because they get to wake up in the morning, do what they like to do. They own their time and schedule. They've created the lifestyle that fits them, and they're able to do that without, again, burning themselves out and getting stressed, and constantly in this herd mentality of like, well, everyone else is doing this, so I got to do this. I got to do this too.
yeah, yeah. So, and that is it's such a scale based on our experiences of where we've been and what we've been taught,
Mm-hmm.
that really takes us to, okay,
Yeah.
what does success mean? And like,
Right. What is it?
that's a piece. That's a piece to break down. And depending on our view of the world and the view of ourselves and the view of what our little space is, the lens that we look through, right? It will look different. And then that's why people feel differently about it. And you're
Mm-hmm.
just like, wow, how can they be on top of the world? And we've seen what was the movie? There was the movie where the guy switched places. There was one of those movies where they switch places, and here the guy on the street, and he got to be the, have
Mm-hmm.
everything. And he's like, whoa, I don't know, having everything is a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's too much to have everything. Maybe it's good to have nothing, but
Yeah.
not really. And we want to know how to manage it and better do that. So going back to that stage in life when you were, rising up in building out your career and doing that,
Mm-hmm.
did you realize how much your identity was, how much did you realize that your identity was being attached to performance?
Yeah. It was a very high, like very, very, very high correlation, right? Because I I came into this company, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, well, it was a friendly competition, but then it became more of like an addiction, a work addiction, where it was like I have to, like, I could go exercise or spend time with my girlfriend at the time, or go out, whatever, hang out with friends, but like, or I could spend another hour in Salesforce and hopefully close a deal to make more money. So it became kind of this like, oh, like I have to, like, because I'm top of the leaderboard, like I have to stay there. And again, the connection between my title and like, or salary or whatever, was so closely tied to me as an individual, which again is, to me now, I would look back and I'm glad I had that experience, because it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy to attach yourself. And I'm sure we see this all the time with, especially in sales, but
Mm-hmm.
people who are above quota for the month or for the quarter, they're happy and they're, it's rainbows and cherries. And then other months or quarters, when they're not, when their revenue's down or they're not at quota, whatever, they themselves are sad, they're depressed. And it's almost like we as humans cannot give our self-worth to a business. It's just having that clear delineation between, okay, my outputs or my value is not who I am as an individual. Like, my work is my work, but I'm a human being.
Yeah.
And it's very easy, especially again for men, to kind of just not realize, oh, wait a minute, like I don't need to do anything to be worthy. Just because I'm here and I exist, like I'm worthy.
Right.
I'm lovable, and I don't need to do the things, again, the stories that were force fed to young boys. I can speak on behalf of my generation. Like, what were we told? What is it? What is to be a man, and what is our job? And that story that just was repeated and force fed for so many years, that
Mm-hmm.
needs to kind of, what I like to call, upgrade your mental operating software. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're running on the software that you inherited at the age of 12, but you're really 38 years old. So there's a disconnect. Of course there is, because you're still running on outdated software.
Yeah. Yes. Because at some point in time, and I have that sales background. I mean, that's where I was too. So every month it's like, oh, well, you're a hero, and then you start over, and you're a
Mm-hmm.
hero and you start over. And then I had a
Mm-hmm.
sales team that I managed. And then we, working for that, that trip we're going to, and all be all in. And it takes, it takes a type of person who really does want the roller coaster ride. And
Mm-hmm.
knowing today where we are in life, and there's those things too, but a business owner has the same, it's the same. A business owner still needs to retain clients, and they still need to add new clients, and there is always this more and more and more. But there are different ways to go about it. There are different ways to branch through it at certain times, but we always come up through the ranks of this producing, performance, production,
Mm-hmm.
achievement.
Mm-hmm.
Those all live there, right?
Yep.
And then when we just start feeling this burnout that we're going to talk about a little too, but when we start feeling this lack of, whoa, purpose, and it hits
Mm-hmm.
us all at a different time. I mean, some call it midlife crisis sometimes, but others it's younger. I'm seeing 28-year-olds that are like, whoa, they've had huge success early. And then they're like, okay, wait, but what if I got hit by something, a truck tomorrow, and I'm not here? What does that mean? And that's pretty deep to think about. But I think that younger people are more emotionally tied as well. They've learned more about how they're feeling about things. But I guess what I wanted to say about that is because we become one dimensional. And we become one dimensional because we want to in sales or in building a business and doing these things. Because why? We are focused on getting it right. We are focused on getting to the next phase. We are focused on getting more. And it is a lot different than going to a job and turning off the lights and coming back to that job. This is a job that could run 24/7 because we live in a world when fax machines came out and now AI and all the rest is whirling around us. But it's pretty amazing. So I think that once we feel that nudge is when we start actually, sometimes we never feel the nudge. We start feeling other things that are hindering us. And that's what I want to talk about. So let's before I get ahead of myself, let me just say, let's see. Let's talk about this chronic performance, like the pressure. Actually, what is it doing to a person over time? What have you seen?
I mean, off the very just like top of my head and my heart, it's like it's ultimately eroding the sense of their being, and then more about like, again, what like a robotic functionality. What can you do for me, or how can you continue to produce and produce and produce and produce and produce? Again, ultimately and subconsciously, folks are, again, they're morphing who they are as an individual to their work, to their performance, to again, and it's sticking together. And we are humans before we're anything else, before we're a CEO or before we're a founder or a venture capitalist, like whatever it is, we all are human. And I think we forget that in order to be a badass, insert title, you have to optimize the humanness, which many of us don't. And again, it's just continuing to, I got to go to the next step. I got to get more. I got to do more and get more clients and make more money. And this culture of more, it's just very unhealthy, I think, especially with AI and Instagram. Everyone's looking at everyone. I don't have Instagram. I don't have TikTok. I don't have any of that stuff, because to me, I don't feel like those platforms really represent someone's highest purpose. They're just putting on, they pick and choose what they want to put on there, and other people see it. They're like, oh, I don't have this, but if I did, I'd be so happy. Right. So it's just like this cycle of, what are we doing here?
Yeah. And unfortunately, right, this is what social media, the access to people being in front of everyone else, is this comparison. And so it actually ties right in. Okay. I didn't realize I had a dog in here. Okay. Sorry about that. Someone must be coming to my door. But it is the social media piece is also has the same kind of depth level in certain ways too. I think that's what you're getting at, right? Because you were talking about how what happens when you've talked about the scorecard. So when worth is tied to the scorecard, well, the scorecard could be that business owner. The scorecard could also be the that social media, whatever's happening. But it is, how do we push beyond that? So you hold tight, and I'm going to just make a door close.
All right, that sounds good. All right.
All righty. Okay. Signature required. Okay. That was that's coming at the door. And that was my announcer doing that.
That's right.
My little
Hey,
puppy
hey,
announcing people.
that's life. That's life.
Okay. Right in the middle of it. So anyway, getting back to thinking about this scorecard, and I think that I love that image, that symbol of saying, because we're always working on the scorecard. So
Yeah.
what is beyond the scorecard? And I think that that's a good place to really kind of take it deeper and to think about how how do you see your clients when they are they're achieving these things, but what does that mean when they are doing that? What are they avoiding?
Well, again, this is an awesome question. So I feel like the folks I work with, oftentimes they have all the proverbial boxes checked. They have a job or some money, and they have a relationship or kids or whatever it may be. And ultimately, they've checked all the boxes that they were taught or told as a kid would make you happy.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they reach these things. And this is my personal story myself. Like I reach these things, and then it's like, okay, well, I did what I was supposed to do, and I'm just like, where is this intrinsic happiness that I thought would accompany all that other stuff that I was told to do?
Right.
And so my answer would be ultimately a lack of intuition strength. A lot of men, high performing men, we all have two brains, like two parts of our brain. We have the logical brain, and then we have the intuition. And many times we are making decisions, men and women, we're making decisions based off of the logical brain. The logical brain says we should take this job, or we should date this woman, or we should whatever, maybe because of X, Y, and Z, all these facts. And the intuition says yes, and that doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right here. And you can't really explain it, but the idea is that we as humans, we want to have the intuition be the final signature on the decision we're making, whereas many times we try to out logic the intuition. We do things based upon what the logical brain wants us to do, and that doesn't serve us in our highest purpose in the long run. It never does. So when something feels right, most likely it is, and when something does not feel right, most likely it's not. And there's something called the 5-second rule, which basically says that we as humans, we know instantly what the answer is, or what the decision to be made is, but we spend time, again, using that logical brain. If it doesn't match up to what we want it to be, again, like I use dating a lot, right? Like if you're dating an attractive man or woman who's whatever they're whatever it is that you want, but it doesn't feel right, you're like, but I have these things, and it doesn't feel right. And so that kind of again, that tension, we don't want them. Many times the intuition and the logical brain, they're butting heads. We want them to be like holding hands, not butting heads.
Yeah. Well, because sometimes we feel that tension, but then we avoid going deeper into that, like even having a hard conversation or doing all those things, because that would be hard to that's like, oh my gosh, that's moving me in the wrong direction. The logic coming back, that
right.
No, it's taking me away from my performance. It's taking me away from what I should be doing.
Right.
And yet then not thinking about the whole depth. And one of the kind of parlaying on the things that you talked about is from looking at, I tend to look at this. It's called the Wheel of Life. Have you heard about the Wheel of Life? Right.
Yes, I have.
So the Wheel of Life it's a really simple exercise, and the premise is just that there is this wheel, and the spokes that come out are the elements that are key in life to generate happiness. And really measuring on a scale of 0 to 10, where do you feel that you are in relation to your personal health, your career, your financial, all these little sectors. And so many times what we're talking about is that once we know that we need work to produce our outcome, money, but we also want it to feel good, so we want to do more of it in that success piece. So when we're doing all of that, what happens is that then we avoid, or we don't even, we sort of become the racehorse. And I think that that's what we see a lot of the times. And I know you as a coach and myself as a coach, helping others unwind this a little and get deeper into what life could be like versus just what work one dimensional can be like. Will help avoid some bigger, deeper things, right?
So you're totally speaking my language, and I use this example a lot. All of us, each individual human being on this planet, we are the CEO of ourselves.
Yeah.
So regardless of whatever work position you do, whether you're a marketing manager or a plumber or a janitor, like whatever it is, we all are CEOs of our lives. And so if you zoom out, there are different departments of our life, much like the wheel of life, right? Like, and what departments are being ignored? What departments need performance reviews? And what departments have you not even wanted to go speak with that department because you're afraid?
Right. Yeah. Yes. And so what are the things that you're missing out on? And how do you get that balance? Because the wheel, if you're not focused in on what your health could be like and the different things that you're like, then you have these flat tires. And then that flat tire later in life means that it might cost you in divorce. It might cost you, definitely there are costs somewhere else, cost in a heart attack, cost in your health, right? And so thinking about these and having these things early on to say, who am I becoming? And I think that's a little piece of where people kind of don't go there because they think, whoa, this is me. And that is the identity built around the scorecard you keep talking about. But I want to use that word identity because a lot of people don't even think about what identity can mean, because sometimes the piece of identity they might not think is fluid. Like over seasons, different times in our life, our identity, we step into different roles. So then our identity needs to become more for what that role needs to be at that time. Right? And if you want to be the best runner, then how are you going to be the best runner? I do love the fact that success breeds certain patterns. And if we can start learning how to transfer those patterns into other things that could give us joy in life, now what does life look like? What is that flower that's budding, or some other thing that's opening that allows you to do that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And I also, just to piggyback off of that, I feel like there is if we were to take a piece of paper and you draw a line in the middle, and we have the things we can control and the things we cannot control. And so again, using sales as an example, like we can't control who signs a contract. We can't control, like there's so many things I think in the world of business where people are focusing way too much on the stock market and like all these things that are out of our control. And it's like, well, you're wasting precious time and energy by doing that. Why don't we devote that energy to the column that we can control and just focus on the inputs? Because the outputs that we desire are an organic byproduct of the valuable inputs that we deliver. So we continue to deliver valuable inputs, and we continue to stay consistent, like you talked about, like we are going to see what we want to see. It just may not necessarily come in the way that our logical brain hypothesizes it will.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's right. And you've talked about this relationship with work and how it's changed for you.
Yeah.
Right? So I want you to tell me how do you help men recognize this maybe earlier than you did? Like what are some things that they should be looking at and how have you helped them recognize?
Yeah, well, one of the first exercises we do is just asking them, again, open forum like this: what is success to you? What does success actually mean to you? And what stories were you told as a boy, as a kid, around what it means to be a man, or around what it means to, again, like I grew up in the 80s and like in the 90s. And so men at that time, they didn't speak their feelings, right? We were told, man up, you get an injury, like suck it up, walk it off. And because we humans, we focus on, and we learn from behaviors, not what we're told. If no man is doing what what they should have been doing, which again is not bothering them their feelings and not keeping things inside.
Right.
But I wasn't exposed to that. So it's almost like, again, a rewiring, going back in time to figure out, okay, what stories, what beliefs did you inherit? Because it's not your fault that you inherited them. You're a child. You didn't have a choice. But now as an adult man, you have the responsibility to say, yes, I didn't choose XYZ lessons or narratives. And now that I'm an adult, it is my responsibility to go out there and upgrade that mental software to what really actually means something to me in my life today, and not the 10-year-old or 12-year-old boy version, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah. No, I mean, so much of that always comes back into play. And now even in culture and looking at the changes now with so many women, I mean, in the workforce and all the things that, that it's conflicting. Men don't even know how to like address a woman anymore. Like, think about dating and, well, what can I do? Or what can I say? Or what can I say in the workplace? And how do we do those things? So a lot of changes are going on in so many different ways that a man doesn't, that's what I said to my son, honey, I think he's 29. It'd be nice for you to open the door. Well, no, she doesn't want me to open the door for her. Like, okay. So that's, I look at that sometimes, and then sometimes that's why it is easier just to be the racehorse and just work and have the dynamic just focused in one way, right? Because there's a lot of noise in this world, and there's a lot of things to think about. How can we play around? And I like that. How can we get back into some elements where it's not as heavy? Heavy is the word, right? Because when life gets heavy, that right there is a signal to go introspect. Why am I letting life feel heavy? And as you talked about, the brain plays tricks on us in different ways, and pushing harder and pulling harder is not always this push-pull effect. Where can we get rhythm? And right?
Yeah, well, and this just sparked again like a flame. Like, you think about our brains biologically, they are wired for safety. So they're constant. Our brains are constantly scanning our universe for threats. Yeah. That's its job. It's doing its job. But what happens is that when we achieve something, when let's say we want to sign a client or we want to raise money or whatever it may be, that's a danger if we don't sign the client or we don't raise the money. That's a danger, right? And then so we achieve the thing we want. And what happens is our brain then files that win in a dark corner of our brain in the basement with cobwebs, and it's in a dusty old file cabinet because it doesn't pose a threat to us. We've done it. Okay, now that we've done it, file it away. What's next? Yeah. And you even see this. I mean, I like to use this example, like the NBA championships. You watch these men who spend tens of thousands of hours practicing, traveling, playing games, working out, missing their families, and all these things, and then they win the championship. And I'm sure you can, there's probably out of the past 20, 30 championships, every year they say this is awesome, and we're going to do it again next year. And it's like, cool. It's awesome that you have that desire to replicate what you did, but how about you take a pause and realize all the time, all the work, all those inputs led to you winning the championship. Let's celebrate this. Let's not just, say, all right, well, we got it. Now what's next?
Yeah. Yeah. And it is the pause, and it is taking the time to move, but it only comes with experience and practice. And sometimes being in that mode, a racehorse is designed to get up every day.
Yep.
They found their patterns. They know, ooh, I like that. I like to be in motion. And that slowing down the motion feels like unbridled, or it feels in a way that's kind of scary, because now I'm losing my momentum. So it's a counterproductive piece, right? Just like the runner who gets the runner's high, and I'm not a runner, but I know that running, the more you continue to run, running is not good for you. You cannot just continue to be running and 24/7 and going and going and going, it
Yep.
eventually your body will, cancel on
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So it's yes. So these are real things that happen, and that's kind of where I wanted to really talk about, like, um, we've had people that they're achieving. So we talked about the signs of where someone might be, but what's helped you reconnect with yourself as
It's a great,
outside performance, right?
that's a great question. I think, again, just like speaking off the top of my heart, like, again, reverse engineering my life. So knowing that we're all going to die one day, that's just a
Mhm.
fact.
Mhm.
So from today until the day I die, and I don't know when that is, reverse engineering, well, what do I want to do with the time that I've been granted on this planet? And one of the exercises that I like to use, even on myself, is like, if you died today, pretend you died today, and every day moving forward was extra credit. Every day was extra credit that you were given. What would you do with that?
Mhm.
What would you do? And again, most of the time it's not about money. It's like, okay, what if I'm given extra credit in time, what am I doing with that time? And how am I using that time to enjoy myself, right? To provide value. And again, make sure that the business of me, the CEO of me, the different departments are all thriving, not just the financial part or the work part,
Yeah.
or whatever it may be. That to me is kind of like one of the greatest exercises. Again, no one goes to a funeral and says, wow, that Ann, she was really good at making money.
Right.
That Ann was really good at acquiring businesses. Like, nobody says that. They say, how was Ann as a person? What did she do? Like, and again, that those are the things that matter. So going to even your own funeral, another exercise we do is like visually going to your own funeral. What are people saying about you? What impact have you made on this world? And how do you want to leave this planet? And again, reverse engineering that back into, well, guess what? Sorry to say it, but we're all dying very slowly every day. Like, time is finite, and we take it for granted. I think a lot of people just think they're going to be here for 400 years. It's like, you're not. So go do the thing, try it out, and you won't die with regret, which to me is the biggest poison known to man, is dying with all these regrets that you wish you did XYZ, but now you're too old and frail and you don't have time, so you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I heard three key things there. There were a lot of good messages, and let's just go backwards. But the whole thing about regret is it's seeing and understanding. It's actually taking the time to think of, oh, what is that's not there.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about re-engineering, and that is, it really is. I mean, it's reframing. All three pieces that you talked about is to create a reframe, and when we can reframe and think of bigger than ourselves and come back and knowing where it is that we want to go, it's just like that destination. If I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to get from California, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean, well, you and I may map it out two different ways, right?
Yep.
But we're going to
Yep.
get there, but we're going to be there two different ways because we have different things that we want to achieve along the way. And
Yeah.
how long it takes will be different for us too.
Yeah.
So re-engineering, not only can you do that within your business, because we do that, we help clients do that type of thing. Is it we want to go and backtrack, but do it with your life. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you do want to have things in life, it is about identifying what are those things, and thinking about what is our legacy, who do we want to be remembered by. Even though it's in kind of an old exercise, and it's an exercise that's kind of scary to think, oh my gosh, if I were to write my eulogy or to know what people want to say about that, sounds a little morbid, but no, it's also getting real to say, think about the last, the funerals, but even when you think about weddings and any kind of big achieve milestone event, it's a great reflection time to say, how is my marriage? I mean, you go to a wedding after you've been married for a while, and it's like, oh yeah, that thing, that thing inside, right? It feels good. And and what do I need to do to work on to get some of that back, or where are we that we need to lean in a little more, or what's going good and well, right?
Yeah. Again, what's going well? What it's so hard. It's very difficult for high performing people in general, especially high performing people, to remember, like, oh yeah, like if the version of me from 3 years ago, how proud would he or she be of me in this moment?
Right.
5 years ago, back up, 10 years ago, like, oh yeah, like, okay, like, yeah, that's actually, something to think about. And so again, but we don't do that because they're not threats, and our brain not is not wired to look at, oh, the good stuff all the time. It's wired to automatically for danger and safety, survival.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what these things that we're talking about is also, if you're thinking and you're in your business and you're running that business and you've got to, you're really building something, because you're all in and you've invested all this to make it happen. But sometimes if you're feeling that you're trapped with pressure, or you're overworked, or, the achievement is, and that's the total drive. It's, I see this with these business owners, where what's happening when you're feeling those things is that you're usually doing more in the business than maybe you should be doing in the business anyway. Do you follow that?
Yeah, I mean, I think just in general, I just believe that there's, especially with Slack and email and our smartphones, like there's never, like, we're like you had said earlier, if we don't choose to be off work, we're always on work. We're always working. Like, even if you're not at a laptop or on your phone. I speak with some of these men who are like, they're sitting at the dinner table, like thinking about quota, and like, it's just, when you actually off of work, when you actually like completely offline, not just physically but mentally, when are you? And many times the answer is like rarely or never.
And so how do you help them see that differently?
That's a good question. I mean, it all depends on the challenges of the man, but really, going back to, again, the meaning, purpose, because we were not, like, the purpose of making money is not going to give you more happiness, which I think, again, society believes. Oh well, when I get money, then I'll be happy, or when I get more money, then I'll be happy or happier. And kind of taking inventory, like you said a couple minutes, like, what do we have now in our lives? What, like, right now today, what are the things that like really light us up, that really give us that fuel, that energy? And almost always it's not work related, right? It's like, okay, well, how can we bring more of that into your life? Much like if Michael Jordan, like, all he did was play basketball all the time, he probably wouldn't be that good. It's like, what are the things that he's doing off of the court that contribute to his efficacy on the court?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And he found at a time how to put his energies in other ways. And there were things, and that, I mean, that's so the life of athletes, there's, and that it just so coincides with people that are building that business and doing those things, and they want all of that success. But then when you do get it, and that's the core of what we're trying to establish here, is that when you feel you've reached the peak, the thing is there can always be more.
Always. There's always.
Right. But we only have 24 hours in the day. And then if we look at the amount of time and the things that we want to do within that day, how is it that we do want to show up, and what do we need to do for the bigger picture of what are some other things for the legacies that we want to make as a parent, right? Sometimes grandparents, it's the best job because they didn't do the things that they were able to do with their kids because they were so consumed, and they're like, wow, I lost those years. But it's not a loss, and we're always mentors, and we're always showing others things. But what is it that you want to show to them? And I think people can relate to that, because little kids mimic adults. And
Mm-hmm.
what we show to them is how they show up. And that really goes back to the whole thing of what we're learning as children is how to be that man, how to be that woman, what are our roles, what are our identities, and how do we make those things happen. And
Mm-hmm.
and we're dealing with people that really are living life just burning the candle. And it is when you're burning the candle, oh, ultimately that wax melts.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that? What does that leave you with?
Yeah,
So mhm,
I think it was Alan Watts. Alan Watts is a British philosopher who said, I think it was him who said, like we bury men at 73 when they really die, oftentimes at 37. Like
mm,
they're just because you're alive and existing doesn't mean you're living.
yes, I love that. It is because sometimes we feel like this is it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to deal with that comfort zone a little bit too, right? We avoid the comfort zone because the comfort zone is hard. When we
Mm-hmm.
want to break out of our comfort zone and growth all comes at like changing levels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so it really says a lot because sometimes we get stuck at a certain age. And it happens like what you're saying is that, you can get stuck at a young age, but you can get stuck at this one age and say, I I've already been there and done that. Whoa, wait. I don't care if you're
Mm-hmm.
80, there's something more to learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we feel tired. So now we have to peel back the layers of, oh boy, what is making me feel so tired to be so exhausted? And
Mm-hmm.
that is when we can get into renewal again. And because boy, oh boy, there's so much to explore. We haven't we You could not even do it all. And I'll say that because of this AI and things like that, we're leaning into I mean, AI is here to stay. Learn how to grasp it, because boy, do I find that it turns your mind on fire. Like you just want more. You can have these conversations with AI that are like so amazing. And it's like, okay, well, then let's see what else life is about. But what do you had something to say about that?
Um, I lost my train of thought. If it comes back
That's
to me, I'll let
okay.
you know.
Yeah. So I did want to reflect for a moment that it seems for me that many people spend years building external success before ever learning how to feel internally safe without
Mm-hmm.
constant achievement. And
Mm-hmm.
so we sometimes feel like, oh my gosh, it's expected of us. We've reached this level with our mentors and the people around us that we
Mm-hmm.
can't give up. Like we have to always operate at this high level.
Yep.
Right. And
Yeah.
so that's another piece of it. It's really this energy that we have. We It's not all the same. My point is that we are all unique. I love when you talk about the unicorn. We are all our only unique people, and we need to learn what we need to learn. and
Mm-hmm.
and we can look at what other people are doing, but not necessarily. Let's think about our own self and what it is that we want to achieve, and how
Mm-hmm.
can we take another step at being energized again, um, and doing things.
Yeah. I mean,
What reflection do you have? Yeah.
people spend more time like planning a vacation or like researching a car than they do like planning their lives out.
Yes.
It's bizarre to even like say that, but it's true. People, again, they spend so much research on buying a house or buying a car or a vacation or whatever it may be, and yet nobody's like really mapping out, okay, what do I want to do with my life, not just again work wise, but like in general, like what fuels me, what can I do that no one else can do, and how can I be the best version of me for not only myself but my family, my friends, my peers, and the world in general.
Yes. Yeah. And I think you summed that all up. I love that. You talked about we are not planning out our lives, and
No, we
we
we, we
spend
don't. We
right.
just kind of just go along. Well, oh, like I mean, I just spoke to a buddy last week, and I'm not going to say his name, but He works at a very large financial institution here in Chicago, makes a boatload of money, has a huge, nice house, drives a Porsche, and it's like it's difficult because I know that he's not like on the outside again. Oh, look, he's successful, right? He's got a family, kids, he's got a big house in the north. Like it's just like okay, that's the definition of what like okay, this is success, but internally he's not living. He's just kind of existing, and it's the same cycle and the same. It's just like, and if he doesn't choose to make a change, nothing's going to change, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That goes back to the belief that life is a choice and we have choices. And there's a lot of times that we feel at the will of others or other things because of the businesses that we're in or what we're doing, and then we have to make certain things happen. Planning out your life opens up that bigger perspective, reflection, ways to get started in that. I mean, that's why people with expertise, like the things that we do, helping people plan out the life to build the business so that they can have the financial freedom and the time freedom in their life is the stuff that we are made of. And that's what we do. But you can look at books. There are books that are talking about designing your life. I work with a book called Hero on a Mission. Donald Miller has written a great book about being the hero on a mission. And it goes back and you do some of these types of things. But spending time to plan it out, oh my goodness. If you've taken away nothing, it's like do something like that to think of what do I want out of my life? And just go and do one little thing so that you break out of the comfort zone of you, that you have to do this routine, these habits that we've come away with, right?
Yeah. It's almost like if you imagine a safari in Africa and there's like these Jeep tracks, right? And everyone drives down the same Jeep tracks and they don't realize, well, wait a minute, like there's a whole safari here. I don't have to go down the tracks of everyone else's Jeep. I could veer off and see what else is unexplored, and there are no tracks to follow. And I think that to me is like a one of the things I think about my life is, and I'm sure you can tell, like I'm nonconformist. I'm an outlier. I don't care about, like, I used to be very impressed with people who had money, like that was just kind of like, and again, growing up poor. And now I'm like, I'm not impressed by anything that you have, your car. I'm impressed by how you treat people. I'm impressed by like your being as a human. That's what I care about. I don't care about your house or your car.
You sound like Shania Twain. You don't impress me.
That's for the older audience will know what that reference is.
So it's kind of fun, but it's true. And that is just a different level of wisdom and living life and experiencing life and being in your own mind of thinking about openness to what life could be like. So,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's all good. So do you have any kind of other closing comments? I'm gonna close up, but I think that,
No, I was just gonna say, I think you mentioned like planning your life, like just figuring out what do you want to do. And I go back to the intuition, like listen to your intuition, because your intuition is your future self, the 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old version, the wiser, more experienced version of yourself, giving you clues and nudges in the present. So why would you ignore that version of you who knows more, who's wiser? If something feels right, again, it most likely is. And if something does not feel right, most likely it's not.
Yes. Yeah. No.
That's kind of my yeah. It's give more voice to the intuition.
Yeah.
And not the logical brain.
Yeah. Well, and so often we don't have a sounding board. We're running things and we are doing what has worked for us, what's made us successful, but we don't lean into what could be more because that could take us off track, just like on the safari. And so that might cost us more time and it just becomes a domino effect.
Yep.
But I do want to, I want to thank you, Jason. I want to say in closing that I think one of the most powerful ideas from today's conversation is this. Many of us inherit definitions of success long before we ever question whether they are actually ours. And sometimes growth is not just about building more. Sometimes it is about unlearning what no longer serves us. So, Jason, thank you for being here. And thank you to everyone who joined us today on Your Terms. So it was delightful to talk to you today.
Thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it.
Okay. All right. So everybody go do good in the world and listen to your own intuition is what I'd say. All right. In closing. All right. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.